acknowledgement. So, I'll start in French. Winnipeg est situé sur le territoire visé par le traité numéro 1, le berceau et territoire traditionnel des peuples Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Ininu, Cri et Dakota, et sur les terres ancestrales nationales des Métis de la Rivière-Rouge. Notre eau potable provient de la Première Nation Shoal Lake, numéro 40, qui est située sur le territoire visé par le traité numéro 3. I would like to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Ininu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nations in Treaty 3 territory. I'm joined by my council colleagues, Councillor Chambers, Councillor Mays, and I'm City Councillor Matt-Allard. And with that, Madam Clerk.
I will just need a motion for the minutes from the February 21st meeting.
So moved by Councillor Mays. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
Okay. So first up is delegations, and our only delegation today is John Winthrop, to be heard with respect to Report 12.
Good morning, Real Community Committee. My name is John Winthrop. I have a short presentation I hope to keep to 5 minutes or less, actually. It's about Councillor Mays' favorite topic, gravel lanes in St. Vital.
Yet, though, you still have 10 minutes. We haven't reduced presentations to 5 yet.
I'm sure we can use the entire 10 minutes to talk about the gravel lanes, though. I'm here really to talk about the second one on the agenda. I believe there's 2 of them in this report. The first one I'm not involved in on Marion Street or in Horst, though I'm sure they could use a local improvement for their gravel lane. I'm here to talk about the one that had the 56% vote on it, the one bounded by Victoria Place, Sherwood Place, west of St. Anne's Road. We're here because we received 56% of the vote, not 60%. I've highlighted the properties here that signed the petition. I'll get into that detail a little bit, but it's mostly the 3 properties along St. Anne's Road. I did reach out, I should say, to all the property owners. The only one I didn't talk to was the one on Sherwood Place at St. Anne's Road, right at the corner. It's an apartment building. Just for background, Victoria Place, Sherwood Place, it's the north-south lane that runs between them behind the buildings along St. Anne's Road that front onto the west side of St. Anne's Road. It's just 1 block north of the McDonald's and the Dairy Queen on St. Anne's Road for those who drive down and get ice cream on a Sunday. There are other gravel lanes in that area. The east-west portion is also a gravel lane, and then across Victoria Place, the north-south portion is also a gravel lane. I've actually talked to some of those people too. They were looking to do a local improvement on their portion of their lane. But we're here, the first petition I got going was the one that was between Victoria and Sherwood behind these places. This is looking at the gravel lane. I just took this picture a couple days ago. It's got a concrete approach off of Sherwood into the back of the gravel lane. The building on the left there, I should add, there's no sidewalk on the north side of Sherwood. That's why that BFI bin there is associated with the apartment building. Seems to be on the boulevard all the time whenever I've been out there. I've been out there many times. That apartment building went in there with 12 units in 2004. It has parking in the back and parking in the front, so they do use the back of the lane. I did reach out multiple times to that landowner. They live up in North Kildonan. I went to their house, I dropped off material. They never responded. The house at 45 Sherwood, I believe it's a brand-new dwelling from what I can tell. They haven't even done the landscaping in the front yard. I did verbally talk to that landowner multiple times. They were not in Canada, so they were unable to sign it, but generally they were supportive of this, but they were unable to be physically in Canada to sign it. But that project, I believe, is almost completed, that house. This is the condition of the gravel lane a couple of days ago. Just to the left is where that brand-new dwelling. I do believe it's 2 units there at 45 Sherwood with a secondary suite with the entrance off the side there. They take their parking more off the east-west lane, not off the north-south portion. Again, and that's looking south at that brand-new house at 45 where they have their parking. You can see it's gravel. The condition is pretty rough. I did talk to some of the houses down Sherwood and Victoria just to see if there's any kind of interest or uptake in doing a larger allied behind their houses. But I found a majority of the houses actually have front driveways already, either on Sherwood or Victory. 18 of the 17 Sherwood houses have front driveways. 10 of the 15 Victoria Place houses have front driveways, so there was very little interest I could find for that east-west portion just because they already have front driveways onto the concrete street. 38 Victory, who did sign the petition, they used the north-south laneway, so they used it and they signed the petition. They were enthusiastic about this. So I'm just going to go back here and highlight. So of all the properties, like I said, I talked to the majority of them. The only one I didn't talk to is the apartment building. Reached out multiple times to them. All the other residents were actually more interested and excited about converting this gravel lane to asphalt. We are short only 4%. We received 56. I understand we need 60 to make it kind of automatic here. I believe there's enough support by the property owners adjacent who are using this lane. The property who didn't sign but I think would like to would have been the 45 Sherwood, their brand new building. He thought it was an amenity that would have been in there. I think if he was to come forward today wanting to do what he did now, you likely, as a committee, would want, or the city would likely ask him to have asphalt along that back lane. The apartment building went in there in 2004, way back when, I think at that time, probably it should have been caught. It wasn't. There's 12 units there. That's the only property, I think, that just never responded. I know they're aware of this, but they never responded to me, and I'm not sure if they submitted anything here today on this. So we're looking to get the LI done on that portion of the back lane. I like doing, I'm supporting of, gravel becoming asphalt whenever I can. I've talked to other residents out in St. Vital who are looking to do the same thing. I like to see how this one goes here. But generally, it was a bit of a process. I'll have to thank the clerks over at City Hall who were very fantastic providing information in the petition and guiding us through the process. The residents were actually very open-minded and great to talk to. Perhaps the ward councillor has talked to residents along Victory and Sherwood about that other portion of the lane, but I didn't see any uptake for the asphalt going in there, or at least for an LI doing an asphalt. I'm sure if the city was to come in there and just do it, maybe they'd be more interested. But we're just today interested in this small portion of the laneway between Sherwood and Victory. That's pretty much the sum of my presentation. I'm not sure if the councillor has any questions about this.
Thanks, John. Yeah, and you're certainly able to just do the T portion and not the stem. We had Bronstone, when people petitioned, they had the votes if you took out the T portion, so that's what we did. It's not ideal, but there's certainly no legal bar to it. It's figuring out where you have the support, frankly. So my question, though, is, I mean, your client owns 122. In fact, 122 coincidentally is on the agenda here, otherwise for an extension of time. I'm trying to remember, and it's not fatal either way, but when 122 came forward for rezoning, I'm assuming, did I put a condition on to asphalt the back lane? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, there's a condition, it's hard service. I just talked to Kevin before, and I can't remember if it was concrete or asphalt, but that's absolutely one of the conditions. I'll talk a little bit about the extension of time. I'm not 100% sure if that project's still going to go forward with the configuration. Now that we're looking also at the zoning bylaw changes that may or may not happen in June, that's a different possibility because the lands are still zoned R1 and maybe it gets something else automatically with there. So yeah, that's in there. I'm not 100% sure that other project's going to go forward. We came forward to the City of Winnipeg last July looking to talk to them about doing asphalt and gravel. I can't remember hard service. It was suggested at that time we should try a local improvement. We did that last fall. So yeah, that was the condition on that one.
Okay, so who suggested that you try the local improvement?
Some staff in the city planning department.
I mean, I see this, you can see this one of two ways. Either you've put this condition on us and it's sufficiently onerous that we're not going to go ahead if we have to eat the condition, or if I was one of the neighbors, I might say, so why am I subsidizing 122? 122 wants to build, they could pave the damn lane. I don't, why do I have to eat some of the cost? But obviously, not everybody feels that way. If you've got...
I got the lady across the lane who I knocked on her door, and I thought, like, she asked me about that, and I thought, this is probably, like, she's not going to be in favor of this. I was surprised when I told her, it's like, yeah, you're right. If this project goes forward sometime down the road, they would likely have to do something on the back lane. I'm just not 100% sure they're going to go at it. The economics don't necessarily are working right now so much for that project, and they're also waiting to see what the zoning bylaw changes are. And her response was she appreciated my honesty, but she was actually wanting to see the lane done sooner than later. I think she indicated that she might be putting her house onto the market sooner, and this certainly would be more beneficial for her.
Yeah, and there's the proposed fourplex wording, it certainly limits development on gravel lanes, as it should. Kudos to the planners for finally listening to me after all these years, so that's good. On the other hand, this is, beside a pretty big corridor there, even, I'm not sure this is technically in the corridor, but I think it would be for St. Anne's, St. Mary's.
Yeah, there's transit along there, and I think you're going to have there's certainly a direct line going down there for frequent transit. And the other two properties are houses, and then that third property is already an apartment building. So if your zoning bylaw happens to change and allow what could happen there, and there's gravel, or certainly nothing would happen. If it's asphalt, then the other two properties would go. And I don't know if we've done if we or the developer at 122 goes in there and installs it, and then suddenly you have a right to build a fourplex and everybody else is building, and I don't know how the city's collecting money to pay back the developer who front-ended the lane.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's actually a good question. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, the fail-safe here is if people really hate it, there's a counter petition, and we've certainly had that come back and bite us memorably on a couple of, memorably for me, on a couple of occasions. So, yeah, thank you for we've got all the paperwork, I'm assuming, for the petition and all that.
Yeah, we handed it in and submitted it back. It took some time because a couple of the owners it was difficult to get a hold of, and then some of them were not in Winnipeg last fall. I did get a hold of them, the other two houses, and they were more interested too because they could see. I explained to them that they would be able to redevelop in the future or change. But yeah, generally, and then other people on the other block were asking me about their back lane. It's terrible. The other one on the other side is probably worse. I said I'd like to do this one first and see where this goes and talk to them. And I'm not sure if you're going to have that kind of, right now I believe the city's covering, I believe, 50% of the cost of the LI. I'm not sure if that's going to be around in the next budget or not. But there was interest on that block to do something because it was actually worse than this portion of the gravel lane.
Thank you for your continued acknowledgement of that. Over the years, yes, you have tried to pave some of these, so, good, okay, thank you, I think that's all my
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Okay, so we're into item 1.
Okay. Loading up the agenda. Somebody mind reading off?
We-
It's time to tell the board. Councilor Mays?
Yes.
Oh, we're underway here?
Yep.
Okay, I've got 5 in a row here, so here we go. I'll move item number 1, $100 grant from per capita funds.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
I'm not sure why I didn't just do this by delegated authority. My apologies, colleagues. Okay, so the next 4 in a row are the usual scholarship graduation prizes. So at number 2, it's $250 for Dakota Collegiate.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
Number 3 is $250 for Glenlawn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
Number 4 is in Councillor Chambers' ward, $250 for Centre Scolaire Léo Rémillard.
Councilor Chambers, oh, but it's from Councilor Mays. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
And similarly, number 5, Collège Jean Sauvé, $250 there.
Also the same.
Also in the St. Norbert
Okay.
River Ward.
Yeah, and all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
Thank you for your
Sorry, that,
generosity.
but that was funded by Councilor Mays, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Do you need anything else for the record?
No, I'm okay,
Okay,
thank
all right. Moving on.
Number 6 is me. It's for a neighborhood block party. $300 for that purpose.
Moved by Councilor Mays, all in favor?
No, Councillor Chambers.
Oh, sorry.
Chambers.
Moved by Councilor Chambers, all in favor?
Used to be my ward.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Contrary carried. Sorry about that. Report 7?
Yeah. 6, yeah.
So that's passed?
That was 6, and now we're on 7.
And now we're on to the Chambers
We're
section
good
of
for
the
6?
agenda.
Okay. Item 7, and if I'm checking, it's because I've been asked by the clerks to for sure ensure that procedures are respected at some point in my career, so then I looked to the clerk
Just that one
to
time.
ensure there's
Starting
no...
your second decade, you've
Yeah.
decided.
Well, just to ensure there's no, no ambiguity at all in the records, so. Okay, thank you for your consideration there. So item 7?
Yeah, $4,539 from Real Community, the Land Dedication Reserve Fund for the purposes of an arbitorium.
Okay, moved by Councilor Chambers.
Can I just clarify, councillors?
Yes.
Councillor Chambers, so the recommendation of the Public Service is that the LDR request be denied because it doesn't
Right.
meet criteria number 2, but you would, my
Waive-
understanding is you'd like
yeah,
to waive criteria. so it's
Waive
a-
criteria.
Sure. Criteria number 2 in the amount of $4,539.87, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried. Next report, 8.
Yeah, again, 8890 coming from my LDR for the purposes of funding a study, waiving criteria number 1 and number 3.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Chambers. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
9 is, I guess.
That's me.
Councillor Mays.
I'm going to move to lay that over because we're meeting again in like 3 weeks, so I'm still a little,
Leary?
for years we go, we'll give you the variance to build on 2,500 square feet. You don't have the required 3,500, you can build on 2,500. Then we finally get the rules changed, you can build on 2,500. We immediately start doing variances. Well, you don't really need 2,500, so just incredible. So, yeah, I'm going to lay that over because we're meeting again in 3 weeks,
April 29th.
Okay,
less than 3 weeks.
so move to the next meeting. All in favor?
All right.
Contrary carried. Next item.
This coincidentally is the very property that we just heard about with the lane paving conditions. So I'm not sure if that's the only thing delaying that or not, or frankly, they may be waiting to see where we land in June on the great fourplex debate. So, yeah, I'll move the requested extension of time to April 27, 2026.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Contrary carried. report.
I'd hope we'd never hear of
11?
Macbell Road again, but here it is.
Councillor Chambers.
Councillor Chambers?
Yeah, so just to approve an extension of time, I am supportive of it.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Concurrence with public service?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried. Next report.
Number 12.
We're on 12.
Oh, sorry, it's a mixture of St. Boniface and St. Vital wards. I have some sympathy for what Mr. Winthrop is suggesting. We have done that, I have done that once before, at least, on a close vote, and the project proceeded. I mean, it's there's the fail-safe if people can counter petitions, so probably losing votes with the clerk here, but I wouldn't mind proceeding with the St. Vital one, which is close at 56, the other one not so close. Well, I'll let Councillor Allard proceed or not on his, but on the St. Vital one, yeah, I'd be prepared to move it forward.
Okay, so procedurally, Councillor Mays, so this is a case where a resident or a property owner initiated the upgrade and got the number of votes, and then the appeal took it? Or is it the other way around, where you're proposing it, and if residents oppose, they can then move forward with the counter petition?
See, Mr. Austin is coming to save the day here, perhaps, with a
Because I do
voice
recall-
of authority. Yeah, this is not like the disaster of Victoria Crescent, where I just moved to go ahead, and then there was a huge counter petition. This is more the initiated by property owner, doesn't get to the threshold, but I don't think we are, I'm not sure if I now have to push it forward, or B, if it's just waiving the 60%.
Oh, I think,
Either way,
It's a
there's a
charter.
counter petition
Yeah.
window here, and I see,
I think I hear statutory rules, but did you want to speak?
Sure.
Yeah, to that?
There's two ways to initiate a local improvement. One is through city council, one is through a petition. The petition by local property owners, you need 3/5 or 60% to proceed to the next stage. This project only had 56%. I know it's close, but it cannot proceed under 408B of the City of Winnipeg Charter at that stage. It cannot go to advertising. It doesn't stop you fine gentlemen and other city councilors by asking council to initiate a local improvement
Okay,
for
so,
that area. So but it cannot proceed based on this petition.
so could it happen concurrently, where we accept this report for information, and then Councillor Mays moves a motion in order to initiate a petition?
That has been done in the past, correct?
yeah, I see this one as a bit different than that other recent one we had, that with Blenheim and Harrowby, all that, because there it was, be careful what you wish for, because you might be opening up your street to more development. Here, there's so few players, they probably would, it's not a bad gamble, frankly, if you might want that if you're on this, so,
Councillor Mays, if you are interested in doing this, I would join you in doing a motion. These, as you have pointed out to council so many times, are a major source of complaints, and the levels of service are not very good relative to other types of pavings, or are you considering, or?
yeah, no, let's go, I'm happy
Okay.
to move that, so in
So
essence.
it would be information on the report being presented today, and then we would need a new business item, I think, to initiate a new petition.
I believe, and I would defer to the clerk, that the report is accepted as a public service recommendation, and it's, the local improvement is denied based on the petition. And then I believe, and I'm looking to the clerk, there would be a motion that would go forward to city council, and if it's approved, then it would go to advertising, and then it would open up the 30-day objection period.
And so that would save the time from a landowner from reinitiating the process themselves?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds, yeah.
Okay.
It's, well, that'll get the attention of the apartment building owner, if nothing else, so.
So,
If they are opposed, and this'll get their attention.
yeah, I mean, part of the challenge for St. Boniface, some St. Boniface streets has been the landowners are not necessarily residents of the property, and they sometimes do not want to support, well, perhaps in part because they are not there to experience the levels of service in the lane. So, yeah, I think, you know, with the support already seen, I think it merits to be revisited. So to the public service, in order to move this motion, Madam Clerk, do we have everything that we need?
I believe I understand the committee's intent. I just would like to clarify. The idea is that you would concur in the recommendation to receive this as information and then move an item of new business to initiate for a council-initiated local improvement. And it's for both locations identified on the report.
That's correct.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Would you like to attach the administrative report as or have the administrative
think
report
so, yeah.
attached just for some background?
Sure.
information?
Yeah,
That'd
in
be,
fact, I'd want to clear, this isn't a
a usurping
T,
of,
could use, this isn't a T development, it's just the north-south lake.
it's just calling for another vote, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So yours, Councillor Mays, is the first north-south lane in the block bounded by Victory Place, Sherwood Place, west of St. Anne's Road and St. Mary's Road, as indicated on the recommendation.
yeah. It's confusing use of St. Mary's, but technically that is the bounding, that is the block, yeah.
That's okay for the location description?
Yeah, it's exactly what's in the report for that second local improvement. If you use that same wording,
Okay.
that's the north-south lane. Yeah.
Okay, so the public service is comfortable with the wording. Madam Clerk, you're comfortable?
Could I just ask really quickly, would it be best to break those two locations into separate recommendations? So one, that council be requested to initiate a local improvement for the first location in St. Boniface, and then two, council be requested to initiate a local improvement for the second location in St. Mary's, or does it? could it
If
be
that's,
the same?
if that's their will,
I prefer
would
having
do
them
it.
both together, actually.
Okay.
It shows some solidarity on a council policy item.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Not a problem.
Just, if I may.
Okay.
It's, just, I'm going to tread lightly here, but it's, one improvement wasn't close to the 60%. So, I don't know what type of impact or type of communication
Yeah,
we may
yeah,
receive back.
I
So
hear
it's
what
just-
you're saying.
Yeah, I'm always careful
Yeah.
these types of situations, even when it's 56%. So it's just, it's certainly your decisions in this case, right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to.
Well, I would like to, Councilor Mays has already said some precedent. I know that when Councilor Vandal was in office, there was a petition to upgrade the back lane that was fronting or adjacent to École Précieux. And the school won automatically because it had most of the frontage. And then Councilor Vandal did the opposite and did not approve the recommendation. So, yeah, I understand that these can be controversial either way, and I also understand that they're controversial as they are as well. So, and there's still the fail-safe of counter-petition. But thank you for the advisory
Yeah, sorry.
words.
Yeah.
I think Councilor Mays and I know what the possible outcomes might be. Okay. Sounds good? Okay. So move for information. All in favor?
Aye.
And who moved the recommendation to be concurred in to receive that as information?
Okay. Councilor
I
Mays,
can
you
do
want to move
that, yep.
information?
Okay.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried. And then do we want to waive the rules to do new business?
Yep.
Settle this right away?
Yep.
Well, we have 13 yet.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just going to do both at the same time, but we can do 13 if you like.
Sure.
Okay, 13?
Yeah, so 13 is a speed limit reduction on St. Anne's Road south of the perimeter highway. I've received many calls and concerns with respects to speeds, but also the increased volume that is coming from destinations south of the city, including Ile-des-Chênes, Hanover District, Niverville, St. Agathe, St. Adolphe, all coming north into the city of Winnipeg, and then primarily using St. Anne's Road as that transit point. So there are no sidewalks on St. Anne's Road south of the perimeter. Residents or pedestrians that are walking along that area or cyclists that are cycling along that area feel very unsafe with the current speed limits at 70 kilometers an hour. Cars are often doing in excess of that, upwards of 80 and 90 kilometers an hour. So they're looking for a speed reduction to 60. If you look at St. Mary's Road, during the construction of the St. Mary's interchange was reduced to 60 kilometers, and residents certainly noticed a difference in terms of speed volumes and safety, the associated increase in safety as a result of that lower speed. So again, looking at the St. Anne's area, reducing the speed limit to 60 will provide a sense of traffic security or traffic safety for the residents along that area, which again is a mix of residential as well as some commercial, light commercial spaces in that area. So again, that's where we're at right now. And of course, the other side of that will be enforcement, getting the WPS out there, traffic division out there to enforce the new traffic laws, the reduced speed, to change that behavior. And again, making sure that everybody feels safe from a traffic perspective.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Chambers. Discussion? None? All in favor? Aye. Contrary, carried. So that was 13. So we're done the regular agenda.
Now, new business.
New business, moved by
Councillor Chambers.
Councillor Chambers. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried. Okay, so
2 items then.
why don't we start with the one that we've already talked about?
Yep.
So the, Madam Clerk?
Sure. Would you like me to read out the result?
Yes, please.
Okay. Be it resolved that the following be recommended to the Executive Policy Committee. 1, that council be requested to initiate a local improvement pursuant to Section 408A of the City of Winnipeg Charter as follows. Happy to read the locations if you'd like, councillors.
Please.
Okay, it's for an asphaltic concrete lane, pavement 16 feet by 5 inches, approximately 16 feet wide, 5 inches thick on all lanes in the block bounded by Marion Street, Horace Street, the Seine River, and Youville Street, including the first north-south outlet lane to Horace Street west of the Seine River. And the second is asphaltic concrete lane pavement 14 feet wide, 5 inches thick on the first north-south lane in the block bounded by Victory Place, Sherwood Place, west of St. Anne's Road and St. Mary's Road. 2, that the process outlined in the City of Winnipeg Charter with respect to a local improvement initiated by the city be undertaken. And 3, that the proper officers of the city be authorized to do all things necessary to implement the intent of the foregoing.
Okay, so moved as discussed, and I think this as discussed prior.
Yep.
Councillor Mays, do you want to move?
Happy to move that. Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, contrary, carried. And other new business, who would like to go first?
I'll have the clerk read
Sure.
therefore be it resolved.
Okay, Councillor Chambers has circulated a motion, councillors, and the resolve is as follows. Therefore, be it resolved that the following be recommended to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development. 1, that the Winnipeg Public Service be directed to report back on designating the portion of Sanook Road between New St. Mary's Road and Old St. Mary's Road as Ron Paul Way for a period of 5 years commencing on the date of the installation of the street signs and/or sign toppers, subject to the following condition: that the funding for the application fee and signage costs be provided by the St. Norbert Seine River Board Councillor.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried. Any other new business? Madam Clerk?
That's it.
So we move for adjournment and we get to public hearings at
10:30.
10:30. Somebody want to move adjournment?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Chambers. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried.
Councillor.
Okay, so welcome back for those who may be watching now and/or in the future. Madam Clerk, we're in public hearings.
I think there was a request from Councillor Mays to hear one item of new business prior to the start of public hearings.
Okay.
Should the committee be supportive?
Okay, Councillor Mays, do you want to move a motion for new business?
Move a motion for new business.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried. And so, Councillor Mays?
Yeah, and thanks to the planners for working with me on a motion and reminded me I'd forgotten it today. This is a motion about a pilot project to look at allowing narrow lots in greenfield areas. There's an application in Sage Creek, which is in my ward. So this is narrower lots than traditionally we have allowed, so 20, 21-foot wide lots. So the idea is to take a look at the building format. It's carefully worded to limit it to greenfield areas. It's a pilot project. It mandates that access has to come from a paved rear lane, so eliminating the all-concrete facing front yard problem. We sometimes have also avoiding the gravel lane problem. So I hate to disappoint those who claim I never support densification, but I actually do support taking a look at this. It's in a greenfield area. Areas like Sage Creek and Bonavista are much denser than some of the other suburbs of previous generations. So with that, I will move the pilot project to consider the narrow lots.
Okay, so moved, the one agendum item outside of the special hearing. All in favor?
Sorry, can I just ask one question, councillors? Item 9 says that the public service will provide a verbal report back to the standing committee on the results of the pilot project. And then further it says, and report back to the standing committee within 1 year or upon completion of construction, whichever is first. Did you want to keep those both in there?
Councilor Mays?
Yeah, good catch. I think just the second one then.
Okay.
Doesn't that sweep in the first one and
Do you want to reread your understanding of what we're moving?
So just removing number 9 and then instead, and report back to the standing committee within 1 year or upon completion of construction, whichever is first, with recommendations on whether or not to proceed with future zoning bylaw amendments and or rules with within new secondary plans that would allow narrow lots to be developed in greenfield areas under a defined approval framework. I think 9 had suggested a verbal report back. Would you like that as a verbal report, Councillor Mays?
Yeah, I see your point. There's some. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So within 1 year.
I mean, if there's a problem with that, this is going to planning committee, I assume, and they can doctor
Yes.
that as they see fit.
They're the ones who,
Okay.
who own the reports. Okay, so Madam Clerk, so we are removing 9?
Yes.
Okay, so moved by Councilor Mays.
Yes, please.
All in favor? Aye. Contrary, carried. And now for the special meeting? Sorry, the public hearing?
Now we can begin public hearings.
Thanks. Okay. So, do we go straight to the clerk, or do I do introductions?
You can do intros if you want, or I can just begin my.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I guess I'll do introductions since I've asked the questions. So, for those who didn't see the last meeting, I'm joined by my colleagues, Councillor Chambers and Mays, as well as members of the public service. We are entering the public hearing section of the meeting today. And so, Madam Clerk, there's some text that you need to read.
In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, the process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application. Next, those registered in opposition are heard, followed by those registered for information. Finally, the applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. For a more in-depth overview of the public hearing process and other information pertaining to what happens before, during, and after a public hearing, please consult the City Clerk's Department website. Please note that all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Should you have any questions after the hearings have concluded, please contact the City Clerk's Department. Item 1 is an excess animal permit at 47 Blackwater Bay under file PA1 of 2025. Councillors, the public service has advised that there is a required reposting on this matter. So if you'd like to move adjournment to the April 29th meeting due to a required reposting for the public hearing.
Would someone like to move that?
No representation being heard.
Okay, do we need, as it's a public hearing, to state the time and address?
Sure. So the motion from Councillor Chambers, if you're amenable, Councillor, is that no representation be heard on the application and the public hearing be adjourned to the Riel Community Committee meeting on April 29th, 2025 due to a required reposting. And that will be 10:30 a.m. in the Council building at 510 Main Street.
Okay, moved by Councilor Chambers, all in
Yep.
favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried.
Okay.
Next, Councilor Chambers' ward.
Item 2 is a closing at Station Road between 3525 and 3511 Pembina Highway under file DAC 5 of 2024. And if you'd like a brief overview of the application from the public service,
Go ahead.
I believe they're with us via Zoom. Peter?
Yes, good morning, councilors. This is my first time, so I'm a little nervous, but I'll get to it. So, closing application by Dremel Builders Ltd. On behalf of the owner of 3525 Pembina Highway to close Station Road.
Peter, are you able to
yes.
turn your video on? Sorry to interrupt you.
I'm sorry, yeah. Okay. So the applicant is proposing to close Station Road and include the closed portion of the road to allow for construction of a place of worship. And the subsequent subdivision application will open the remainder of the road as a public lane.
Okay,
And that's, in a nutshell, is the application.
okay, Councilor, colleagues, any questions? No questions from no questions to the public service? So Councilor Chambers' ward, do we get into motions right away, or?
There are folks here registered to speak to this public
Oh,
hearing.
apologies.
Okay, so first we'll hear from the applicant, Fairly Fernandopoulos. I apologize if I've mispronounced your name. Yeah, you can join us down here if you wish to speak. If not, no? Okay, so just noting that Fairly is in support of the application. So next is Adeyemi Adeyemi. Do you wish to speak? No, okay. So Adeyemi is in support of the application. And Yeti Adeyemi, okay, do you wish to speak? No? Okay. Yeti is also in support of the application. Is there anyone else in the gallery that wishes to speak in support of this application who hasn't yet registered? No? Okay. So we'll move on to opposition. Previously registered, but they haven't registered for today's hearing, is Mitu Sidhu. Is Mitu Sidhu here? No? Okay. Is there anyone else in the gallery that hasn't yet registered that wishes to speak in opposition to this matter? No? Okay. Is there anyone in the gallery that wishes to speak for information with respect to the matter that hasn't yet registered? No? Okay. All right. If there are questions for the public service?
Yeah, so let me just find my notes here. Here it is. Okay, so this application actually came through based on the fact that when construction was being done at 3511 Pembina Highway, the HVAC equipment, specifically speaking, was located on the public right-of-way, which was the roadway, Station Road. In review of the HVAC equipment and recognizing that it was on the public right-of-way, there became concerns with respect to maintenance of the equipment and, well, access for maintenance of the HVAC equipment. So it's led us to this point where the road, Station Road, is no longer in use as it was in the past. The fact that the HVAC equipment is constructed on a portion of the of Station Road, and a portion of the roadway is also used for parking. Between the public service and the two parties at 3511 and 3525 Pembina Highway, an agreement was made to close the road, but the resident or the occupants of 3511 Pembina Highway are just asking for an easement agreement, to allow them to access their HVAC equipment that's currently on the laneway of Station Road. Also to address safety concerns, if they need to evacuate their building, they may encroach upon Station Lane, and they're just, again, wanting concession for that purpose. And as well as they are utilizing a portion of Station Road now for limited parking, and again, would like to continue on utilizing that little bit of space that they have. So with that, that's all of the concessions that they're looking for. Basically, in essence, to maintain the current access that they're currently enjoying based on the partnership and the relationship, the collaboration between the two entities. So that's where we're at now, and I suggest that's why there is no opposition currently stated in this hearing.
There is one individual registered opposition.
Sorry?
Sorry, Councillor, there is, Me Too Sidhu is in opposition to the application and put forward a petition, but Me Too is not here today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for motions?
Yeah. Let me just go back to,
How far south is this on Pembina? Is this south of that?
so it would be right across the street from the St. Norbert Farmers Market.
My apologies. I'm advised by Madam Clerk that
There's-
given the new information or the possibility of rebuttal of Mr.
Fairly, you do have the opportunity to rebut any comments made if you wish, but if you don't wish to, then you don't have to. Okay.
Okay, so no rebuttal. So back to motions, Councillor Chambers.
So it's just a matter of concurring in the recommendation of the public service?
Yes.
Okay, moved by Councillor Chambers, all in favor?
Aye.
And you're moving to concur, Councillor?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay,
With the caveats that I also put on the public record in terms of access.
Okay.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary carried?
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. Okay. Item 3 is a subdivision and rezoning at 2360 St. Mary's Road under file DASZ 2 of 2025. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing, and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 4 is the variance at 2360 St. Mary's Road under file DAB 277770-2024D. Please note additional communications were received in support of the matter after the agenda was published, which have been distributed to all members of the committee. If you'd like a brief overview from the planner of the application.
Okay, yes, please.
Good morning, councillors. The subject property is on the west side of St. Mary's Road, just north of the Perimeter Highway in the Norman Park neighborhood of the St. Norbert, St. River Ward. It's currently zoned RR5 Rural Residential District. The applicant is proposing to subdivide the property into 2 lots and rezone 1 lot to the RMFS Multiple Family Small District and the second lot to PR1 Parks and Recreation District for the purposes of establishing a 20-unit residential townhouse development and associated land dedication to the city. Development on the RMFS portion of the land will consist of 14 3-story townhouse units and 6 2-story townhouse units contained within 5 separate buildings on site. There will be a total of 46 parking stalls on site, and the bylaw requires 30 parking stalls, so they'll exceed that. The PR1 lands will be dedicated to the city for naturalized land adjacent to the river and a future extension of the AT path, which would tie into the existing AT path along the Red River. The Public Service is recommending approval of the rezoning. It is consistent with the policies guiding development in areas of stability recent community policy area and in Complete Communities 2.0. Conditions in the zoning agreement include a plan approval to the director, fencing or bollards along the property line abutting the PR lands, and requirements to meet floodproofing criteria. There's also a servicing agreement, and I want to note that the administration is recommending a change to the servicing agreement. We are recommending the deletion of clause 5A and B in section 4 of the servicing agreement. We confirmed yesterday that the boulevards and landscaping are covered as part of the provincial highway project for St. Mary's and the Perimeter Highway. So therefore, we don't need to obligate the developer to provide the landscaping and within the boulevard. So moving on to the variances, there are also several associated variances for front yard and insufficient building landscaping for the buildings, and no front yard and no direct access to the driveway for the parking stalls. The Public Service is supportive of these variances as they're deemed to be the minimum modification of the bylaw due to site constraints. The variances are compatible with the area and will not have a substantial adverse effect on adjacent properties. And that concludes the overview from the Public Service.
Okay. Madam Clerk,
If there are any questions for the public service, or if not, we can move to the applicant.
colleagues, any questions?
Yeah, my questions will come of the developers.
Okay.
All right, so the applicant, Susan Russell, I believe is speaking together with Melissa Neary in support of the application. They're with us in the gallery today.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Chambers, Councillor Lard, and Councillor Mays for the opportunity to speak in support of the 2360 St. Mary's Road Townhouse development. On behalf of the owners and the design team, we would like to thank the City Administration, including zoning, planning, especially Land Development Branch, Public Works, Fire, and Waterways for their time and valuable input. Very much a collaborative process that helped create a design ideally suited for this site and also provides a stabilized riverbank for the extension of the Bonnie Vital Parkway, an important community asset. Melissa will be doing the majority of the presentation, and she will do a brief overview of the proposed townhome development and requested subdivision rezoning and variances, a summary of the public engagement, and our alignment with the administrative report with one requested amendment, which has already been identified by the Public Service. Thank you.
Okay. I guess the presentation continues. Please carry on. You have 8 minutes and 50 seconds.
Okay, perfect. So the site is located at 2360 St. Mary's Road, as noted. It's at the south end of St. Mary's, just north of the Perimeter Highway. It's also adjacent to the newly constructed South Perimeter Interchange. There are 4 single-family homes just to the north of our property, as well as a proposed multifamily development just to the north of those properties as well. The old St. Mary's Road will still provide connection to Maple Grove Park to the south. So the subdivision and rezoning, as has been noted, we're intending to subdivide the property into 2 and rezone Lot 1 from RR5 to RMFS for the development of the 20 townhome units, and rezone proposed Lot 2 from RR5 to PR1 for the development of the dedicated PR for the extension of the Bonnie Vital Parkway. Our site plan features 20 townhome units, as noted. So there's 14 3-story townhome units and 6 2-story townhome units. The proposed massing and site and space between the 5 buildings proposed on site provide a similar scale of development and density as the single-family homes to the north. As mentioned, the required parking for the site is 30 stalls based on the 1.5 stalls per unit. We are providing a total of 46 parking stalls through the single attached garages as well as double attached garages, tandem stalls in the driveways, as well as 8 surface parking stalls. The site can be accessed by vehicles through 2 approaches off of St. Mary's Road, as well as a designated fire route through the central drive aisle. We are also proposing 2 Moloch bins, one for garbage and one for recycling for pickup. On the site plan, there's existing dead trees along St. Mary's Road. Those are going to be replaced with 14 new trees, as well as 62 shrubs to meet street edge requirements. Deciduous trees and shrubs will be planted in front of the townhome units as well to meet all building foundation requirements. There was one variance for insufficient landscaping, but we are providing 2 trees in lieu of the 24 shrubs that are required for those particular units. We're also providing a side yard buffer of 7 trees, as well as a 6-foot height wood fence to the north of our site. There will be some tree removal required for bank stabilization work due to the installation of rock caissons recommended by the geotechnical engineers. However, we will be providing bank revegetation in this area. The public reserve dedication accounts for about 48.6% of the site. 7.3% of that is dedicated for a 5-meter wide corridor for the Bonnie Vitel Parkway to connect through our site. And then the remainder is dedicated from that portion of the PR to the ordinary high water level line. For riverbank stabilization, the developer is planning to invest over $2 million in stabilization through rock caissons and riprap, as noted in the geotechnical report. This is for both the construction of the townhome development as well as the future parkway. As mentioned, bank revegetation will also be provided. It's our understanding that a riverbank stabilization study is currently underway with the City of Winnipeg for the properties along St. Mary's Road to confirm requirements for stabilization and the development of the parkway. While the study is underway, we're proceeding with the development applications required to get the property ready for construction. And once the future pathway locations have been confirmed to the north and the south, we can make adjustments to the connection points into our site as required. As has been noted, we have a variety of variances for the site, so we've highlighted them on the attached plan. One is for a front yard setback of 7.5 feet instead of 61 feet. So the variance for the setback is 2 stairs on a porch facing St. Mary's Road. The setback to the building face itself is 15 feet. The setback was provided through a front yard alignment review, which set it at 61 feet. However, the house directly to the north has a front yard setback of 38 feet, and a typical RMFS yard setback is only 20 feet. As mentioned, we have a variance for insufficient building foundation landscaping. In lieu of we're providing 24 shrubs, we're providing 2 trees. For the establishment of an accessory parking area, the indoor parking spaces have no direct access to a driveway or drive aisle due to the tandem parking. Homeowners will be able to park their vehicles in the driveways and will be able to move vehicles as needed to access the driveway. There's also a setback of 14 feet in lieu of the 61 feet, and this was due to the front yard alignment again, but typical setback to parking is 10 feet. The next 2 slides show the proposed building design and floor plans. So this slide here is showing the floor plans for the 3-story townhome units as well as the 2-story townhome units in the bottom right corner. The next slide shows the building elevations. For exterior finishes, we're proposing brick veneer, gray siding, white board and batten, and a wood look siding. We've also undergone some public engagement. Back in 2022, when we were originally going through the design, we had both a stakeholder meeting and an open house on site. No one attended the first stakeholder meeting. We did have one person respond via email following that meeting, which we did meet with at the time. Their concern was the potential for a townhome unit to block their view from a second-story deck, in which we've made adjustments and assured them that the buildings that we were proposing weren't blocking their view of the river. Since then, we did provide an updated pamphlet, which is seen on the screen, back in the fall of 2024, just showing the updates to the site plan, but largely not much had changed since 2022. When we set out the flyer, we didn't hear any responses back at the time. And upon review of the administrative report, as we've already heard, they're in support of the application. So we're in support of the report, including the conditions for the zoning agreement, as well as plan approval by director, constructing fence along the property line abutting the public reserve. The plan is there is going to be a retaining wall along this pathway, and we would have some sort of guardrail or fence on top of that. As well as to adhere to all flood-proofing requirements. We will also enter into a servicing agreement, including that fencing requirement, as well as the public reserve dedication that we've already mentioned, and riverbank stabilization. So to reiterate, where the developer is investing approximately $2 million towards the bank stabilization for the townhomes as well as the AT path construction. And then, as has already been mentioned, we have been in contact with the administration regarding deleting the clauses related to the boulevard trees. As you can see in the photos below, there isn't enough space between the curb and the pathway or along the ditch in order to provide those trees. And following the public hearing, upon approval, we will proceed to registration of new titles, the zoning and development agreements, as well as then submitting plan approval application and continuing on with construction drawings and further construction of the property. Thank you.
Okay, that's, I guess that's it for the presentation.
Yes.
Okay, colleagues, questions?
Yeah, so it's normally customary to engage with the area councillor on developments, and this is the first that I'm hearing of this development in its current state.
Okay.
Yeah, apologize about that. There were very few changes from the one that was in 2022.
So in 2022, the last iteration of this project that I heard or was witnessed was one singular building. It was before the construction to the interchange was occurring, and there was some discussion about laneways and whatnot. But my last presentation of this property, it was one building.
I apologize, Councillor. Our understanding was that you were aware of the,
No,
okay, I apologize. That's not good.
so I mean, I would like the opportunity to review the plans and, you know, what's being proposed in terms of the subdivision and then three buildings going on this property.
Okay.
Councillor, or response?
Yeah, again, I haven't had the opportunity to review this. The developer hasn't come to me to discuss. I'm kind of in the dark in terms of what is being proposed here.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Would you like to move adjournment and keep representation open, or
Yeah.
would you like to? Okay.
Yep.
So then that would be adjournment to the April 29th
29th.
Real Community Committee meeting. And that would be at 10:30 a.m. in the council building at 510 Main Street, and representation will remain open.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Chambers, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried.
Okay. And then for the variance as well, Councillor, that same motion?
Okay.
Okay, so Councillor Chambers moves adjournment to the April 29th Riel Community Committee meeting at 10:30 a.m. In the council chamber at 510 Main Street, and representations will remain open.
So, and it'll, this is notice for your office to reach out to mine to set up a meeting so we can discuss this further.
We absolutely will. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Councillor.
Oh,
That should happen at the hearing.
sorry,
Sorry?
clarification?
As the public
Input.
hearing is now started, so those discussions should happen at the public meeting.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm advised by the clerk that any discussions should be held within the context of the public hearing. And so with that said, we have the motion, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Councillor Chambers, I believe, is moving adjournment of the variance to April 29th at 10:30 a.m. in the council chamber.
Okay, Councillor Chambers,
So moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, carried.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
All right. Item 5 is a rezoning at 237 Bertrand Street under file DAZ 224 of 2024. In accordance with the City of Winnipeg Charter and the Development Procedures Bylaw, this is a combined hearing, and the following item will also be heard at the same time. Namely, item 6 is a variance at 237 Bertrand Street under file DAV 253994 of 2024D. The process the committee will follow is the applicant will be heard first, followed by those in support of the application, those registered in opposition, and those registered for information. The applicant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made, however, no new information is permitted. If the committee would like a brief overview from the public service?
Yes, please.
Good morning. So the property is located on the northwest corner of Bertrand Street and Travers Avenue in the Central San Boniface neighborhood in the San Boniface ward. The property is zoned R2 Residential 2 Family District, and the application is for rezoning to C2 Commercial Community District for the purpose of building a commercial and residential mixed-use building with 1 commercial unit, an office, and 4 residential units. The Urban Planning and Design Division recommends approval as amended to the C1 Commercial Neighborhood District instead of C2 Commercial Community District with conditions, including a servicing agreement. Reasons for support of rezoning is the subject proposal aligns with the applicable policies for mature communities, and according to complete communities, the development will help achieve residential intensification in the area. It will positively contribute to the surrounding neighborhood by providing additional housing. It will better utilize existing infrastructure. The proposed density is compatible with the surrounding context. There are multiple multifamily dwellings in the block, and also the proposed development meets the design policies as outlined in complete communities direction strategies. And finally, the site is located on a corner lot of a collector street, and it contains an existing commercial retail use. As such, it complies with 2 of mature communities' specific policies for supporting proposed rezoning to commercial. The rezoning application is associated with a variance application to vary the lot area, yard setbacks, parking, and buffering requirements of the zoning bylaw. The Urban Planning and Design Division recommends approval in part with conditions of the applicable variances items under the recommended C1 Commercial Neighborhood District. A substantial conformance condition is recommended on the variance application for and the variances recommended for approval are a minimum modification of the zoning bylaw and have no substantial adverse effect on the surrounding properties. Thank you.
So we have the introduction for the public service. Any questions for my colleagues? No. I have none. Is the applicant here?
So no one has registered for this application, and I don't see anyone in the gallery, so there's no registered in support, in opposition, or with respect to the application, and no one is with us today.
Okay. I did want to, I guess, ask if it were possible to make a modification to the proposal by adding bicycle parking. I know the site. It's the corner store. It used to be the corner store where I was first allowed to leave the house and buy groceries because there was a sidewalk and there were no front approaches, and I could safely get to the store with the change that I had to buy some milk or whatever it is that was needed for the household. So I feel the nostalgia that I think a lot of people feel when we're at public hearings and people are seeing changes in the community, and they are not always supportive of those changes. So in this case, I was wondering if the public service might advise on whether or not we could add bike parking facing the street. And I think there are 6 current spots dedicated, but I would like 6 spots to be publicly visible, as well as 6 spots that would be enclosed within the parking area. And so I was wondering if the public service might comment on whether or not they think that might work.
There is a space by the sidewalk on Travers Avenue in the landscaped area that it can accommodate additional bike racks for visitors to accommodate the missing visitor parking stall.
Okay.
Yeah, that's possible. I think we can add this.
Okay, so I'll maybe provide a bit more context for my colleagues there. So this is a C1 zoning district, and there are 4 residential units. Typically, I understand, Councilor Mays, these are metrics, so you may have heard this or not, but I understand that for every residential unit, there is 0.6 visitor stalls, generally speaking, as part of residential development. So in this case, we have 4 stalls, and the applicant has requested 4 residents only. And so the variance is to remove the requirement for visitor parking. So the number of stalls doesn't change, but the dedication of the stall is to the resident and not to visitors. And so I thought to offset the typical apportionment of visitor parking, given the site limitations, that I would include more bike parking. In the past, I've asked developers if they would do things like add car shares. They've done so. This is a small site, so I think it would be an unfair obligation, but I think that asking for 6 bicycle locations outside visible to the public would send the right message to show that, that we're serious about reducing the impact of, the additional net new parking that will be required in the community. This is probably one of the busiest streets in St. Boniface Ward in terms of parking because it's adjacent to the hospital. And so I think we had gone down to 1 hour parking for a while, and it's back to 2, I believe. So if the public service has proposed language to include 6 net new stalls that are fronting Traverse, that would be bike parking visible to the public, I'd appreciate that.
So Councillor, how many total bike parking stalls are you requesting? 6 or 6 plus what the bylaw normally would require?
So does the bylaw, what does the bylaw state in terms of requirements?
1 bike stall for the whole development, and they provided 6 in the enclosure.
So they're already providing 2 more than the requirement?
They are providing 5 more.
Oh, there would only be 1 required in the bylaw?
Yeah.
So we require 4 vehicular parking stalls per unit, in addition to 0.6 per unit visitor automobile parking stalls, and we only require 1 bicycle parking stall?
We have a major gap in our zoning bylaw for bicycle parking right now. It's a very, very low, the requirement for bicycle parking. We have,
What would be the ratio there?
I think
1 for, yeah, 1 instead of 5, I guess.
yeah, like 0.2.
5 times less? Yeah,
Like
0.2.
0.2 or something like that.
Okay, all right.
so. Visitor
So yes, I would like to go above and beyond the bylaw, given this street is heavily, parked on. And I think no one's here today, but if someone were here, they would ask for modifications to development to reduce, parking requirements. So I think this is an easy way of doing it.
So we would recommend is then that you indicate that a minimum of 7 bicycle parking stalls be provided to the satisfaction of the director. We already have plan approval, so the bicycle parking then would become part of the plan approval. If you want to go further, you could specify the exact location, but I think we know your intent.
I think I'd like to specify the exact location.
Sure.
So, and I would like, so there are 6 provided now, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like another 6. I'd like 12. 6 would be for public, would be facing the public on Traverse, and 6 would be inside the parking enclosure for residents and persons who are frequenting the business.
So then I would say a minimum of indoor or 6 bicycle parking stalls shall be provided for residents within an enclosure, and a minimum of 6 bicycle stalls shall be provided along Travers.
Perhaps visible, fronting the street, I don't know that it's within my rights to impose, perhaps it is, impose bicycle stalls for residents, perhaps visitors. I don't know, just the language seems, I don't know, maybe outside the bounds of the authorities of the committee. Maybe not for residents, but visible to the public, adjacent to, fronting the street.
6 are in an enclosure already?
Yeah, 6 are in the enclosure.
Okay. So,
So I want there to be I want there to be 6 visible bicycle parking stalls fronting the street, so everyone can see that there are 6 net new stalls. And then I would like to have the original 6 so that we can have people who want to visit the store and/or bike there and use their residential parking and/or using the business, having those 6 in the enclosure.
okay, so 6 in an enclosure.
Yes.
And then 6, not in an enclosure, but along Travers Street, visible from the street.
Visible from the street.
From the street.
Yes.
Okay. So then, what I would recommend is that you indicate that a minimum of 6 bicycle stalls be provided in an enclosure, and an additional 6 bicycle stalls be provided facing Travers and visible from the street.
Okay, that's what I would like to do. And I'd be willing to have the delegate authorities to the director. I don't know, is it typical for plan approval to come back? Or is it typical for it to go to the director of planning for approval? Or is there no typical case?
We typically recommend director plan approval because it does streamline the process, but it's up to the community committee. If you wanted to add Riel in addition, then it would come back to you as well as to the director.
Okay, I'd like to send it to the director. Delegate authority of the director, okay? So, Madam Clerk? No, I just, I'm ready to move motions if there's no questions from my colleagues.
Just for clarity, I think I've parked outside here going to baseball games at Bertrand, actually, when my kids played. So also parking from that. So the rezoning was requested to a C2, but you're recommending a C1?
Correct.
Okay.
C2 would allow for more intense commercial uses, industrial uses. It's not suitable for this area. So we recommended C1 and contacted the applicant, and the applicant is okay with C1. Otherwise, we would have to, if the committee wants to proceed with C2, we would have to add a zoning agreement condition on the application.
Okay. So the C1 allows them to do this mixed-use building now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And paved lane, thank you for, we used to get these and they wouldn't say what surface the lane was, so we accomplished something. Good, thank you.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, for the language on the changes.
I believe that would be a condition on the variance, added to the variance.
Yeah, we're recommending that condition be added to the variance.
So that would, when the committee moves a motion with respect to the variance, that would be a new condition 4.
Okay.
That a minimum of 6 bicycle parking stalls shall be provided for residents within an enclosure, and an additional 6 bicycle stalls be provided along Traverse Avenue, which are visible to the public to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning, Property and Development.
Right, okay. That sounds good. So I'll get into the motions. What page? Oh, I found it. Okay. I move that the report, oh, right, of course. Councillor Chambers, would you take the chair?
I will.
Thank you. I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
And I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public Service be concurred in part.
I believe you're moving concurrence with the recommendation with respect to the rezoning,
So-
and then the amendment would come on the variant, would be on the variance.
So as said by Madam Clerk.
So this one would be concurring in the recommendation of the public service and being forwarded to the Executive Policy Committee via the priority rezoning process.
Okay, so moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
And sorry,
Supporting
the
reasons?
supporting reasons, apologies, Councillors.
Oh, it goes
To be
before?
part of that motion.
To be part, okay. So, well, as I stated before, I know the site. My understanding is that it's been, well, it's time for a change in terms of this building. I think it's changed ownership. I don't know how many times, but I think this is well, the proponent thinks this is a viable project, and I think it'll be good for the neighborhood. It'll add new units to the neighborhood, an immature neighborhood, and I hope if the committee agrees to add those extra bike parking stalls so that they're visible to the public to alleviate parking concerns. And this is the type of development, I really like these types of developments, like walkable neighborhoods where you can go to the corner store. There's not a whole lot of that. And if they think, I mean, it's not going to be the same use because that model is, well, it's rare these days, but I think it's going in the right direction, reappropriating land that could be better used and to the benefit of the neighborhood.
Okay. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
And just to confirm, so that's the supporting reasons and the concurrence of the public service recommendation, right? That one single motion for both.
That's correct,
Okay.
Madam Clerk. So moved.
Councillor Mays, any comments?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Okay, and now for the variance?
No, the public hearing with respect to this application.
Oh, okay. And I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Please note that the committee has made a recommendation on this matter that will now proceed to council. No further representations are permitted on the subdivision and rezoning, and all persons registered for the public hearing will receive notice when the matter is to be considered by council.
Okay, on the variance now? Going to the script. I move that the report of the Winnipeg Public Service be taken as read.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that the receipt of public representations be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I move that in accordance with subsection 247.3 of the City of Winnipeg Charter, the variance is consistent with Plan of Winnipeg and any applicable secondary plan, does not create a substantial adverse effect on the amenities, use, safety, and convenience of the adjoining property and adjacent area, including an area separated from the property by a street or waterway, is the minimum modification of a zoning bylaw required to relieve the injurious effect of the zoning bylaw on the applicant's property and is compatible with the area in which the property to be affected is situated. I'll leave my supporting reasons to be the same and also signal my intent to my colleagues to, in a motion after this one, add conditions to the variance. So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
And I move that the recommendation of the Winnipeg Public be concurred in part.
Concurred in with an amendment to add a new condition 4, which reads that a minimum of 6 bicycle parking stalls shall be provided for residents within an enclosure, and an additional 6 bicycle stalls shall be provided along Traverse Avenue, which are visible to the public to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning, Property and Development.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
And I move that the public hearing with respect to this application be concluded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Please note the committee's decision with respect to this application may be appealed. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the order issued, which will be mailed to all persons registered.
All right, ask Councillor Mays for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. We stand adjourned. Boom, boom.